We've had the most appalling double standards. Someone who is trying to have it both ways. Someone who is trying to claim that this pulp mill will be world's best practice. Someone who is trying to claim that its environmental footprint will be minimalised by the conditions he's placed on it. Well, this is what Malcolm Turnbull had to say about the pulp mill and its assessment process back in August. He wrote to the Tasmanian Premier and he said, "In my view, the abandonment of the Resource Planning and Development Commission process has eroded the trust of the Tasmanian and Australian people in the assessment of the proposed pulp mill." He then went on to say, and tried to strenuously argue, that there were only a small number of the environmental impacts of the pulp mill that he could look at, mostly concerning the dumping of the effluent in Bass Strait. He said that the following issues were not matters for him, but matters for the Tasmanian government. These included, in his letter to Premier Lennon, emissions of odours, pollutants and particulates that will adversely affect air quality in the Tamar Valley and surrounding region. He said that was a matter for Tasmania. Adverse impacts on Bass Strait, the Tamar River and the beaches and coastline in proximity to the effluent outfall, 2.7 kilometres off the coast here, therefore reducing social amenity and negatively affecting human health and safety, marine species and commercial fishing. That was a matter that he said was one for Tasmania. Increased traffic, in particular heavy vehicle traffic, i.e. log trucks, in the region, which may lead to increased accidents and a reduction in public safety, i.e. more injuries and deaths. He said that that was also a matter for Tasmania. And now, because he has made certain conditions on the dumping of effluent, he's saying that this pulp mill is fine, even though, like Pontius Pilate, he washed his hands of all these issues and said those are matters for Tasmania. Well, what total double standards, what total hypocrisy from our National Environment Minister, what a disgrace. We'll hear more about the marine environment from John Bryan. But Mr Turnbull's own performance on that narrow area that he said was all he could look at, which we don't believe, but the narrow area that he said was all he could look at, which is the dumping of the effluent into Bass Strait. What did he say there? He has come up with conditions which are fatally flawed. Fatally flawed because he is allowing Gunns to build the pulp mill before the science has been done. He agreed with oceanographers such as Stuart Godfrey that Gunns had failed to do the necessary observations and baseline studies to be able to assure us that the dispersal of the effluent would be safe. He agreed that Gunns failed to do that, but yet he is saying to Gunns, do the science, but you can build a pulp mill at the same time and we'll all worry about what the science says later on. What an absolutely hopeless situation to put Tasmania into and to put future environment ministers of this country into. What a disgraceful performance again. And yet that's all been backed up by the so-called Federal Shadow Minister for the Environment, Peter Garrett. A craven performance from someone who has previously been a defender of Tasmania's forests, a proud defender of Tasmania's forests, who has spent the last 2 to 3 years warning of the dangers of climate change and rightfully castigating the Howard government over its failure to deal with climate change. And now what does he do? He gives his own seal of approval to a pulp mill which will be one of the biggest contributors to climate change and global warming in Australia, the destruction of the forests. He's added his signature to the death warrant of 200,000 hectares of the forest that he was defending just 3, 4, 5 years ago. What a shameful performance from someone that people have looked up to for so long. What a sad day that was when he said that we have to add value to our conservation estate by pulping it. Shame on you, Peter.